Well, what happened is that I went out one day and got pulled over by a police officer, and he seemed to think I had too much to drink. I didn't necessarily think so. I knew myself. I was perfectly fine. I paced myself. I was convinced that I was perfectly fine. I just can't control what the next person thinks. Now, when I was going through this stop and then getting out of the car and doing the field sobriety tests, I came to the realization, it's like, oh, this is real. This is really gonna ruin my day. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I gonna do now? I work at a company with a security clearance. In my opinion, that's what got me in most of my trouble, because my heart started racing. I started getting nervous. I either was not talking when I should have, or talking too much when I shouldn't have. It's like, I don't even know what's gonna happen to me. I don't even know what my next steps are. And I'm just pretty much, as I'm given instruction to do something in my head, I'm going, oh shit.
God, Paul, man, he's such a great guy, such a patient man. I think it was very clear he wasn't impaired. I'm very surprised that even with his performance on the field sobriety test, that they consider him impaired. Because he did 19 steps back to back, heel to toe, in a line. Never once lost his balance. But they still decided they wanted to prosecute him. Then they go and test the blood. He's under the limit. Oh, but he's close to the limit. But he's under the limit. And the science says you don't know.
Now, if I would have got a DUI, I'm not exactly sure what would happen to my security clearance, but I'm a manager in a department. And what could possibly happen is I could get demoted. I'm in the latter half of my career. I'm ready to retire. I could lose my job, and then I don't know what I'm doing.
I've had several clients that work for big companies, and that's more than anything, that's been their concern, right? What's going to happen with my life going forward if I have this stain on my record? It's like a scarlet letter. They'll be walking around the rest of their lives.
Javier's firm came up, and then when I called the firm, they referred me to Javier, and then I had my first consultation with him. Actually, I'd like to run away because, he come across down to earth. I have to admit, at first I'm thinking, I'm embarrassed. But when I talked with Javier, he never once made me feel like I did anything wrong. And I just felt very relaxed, and it was this very, very easy person to talk to. I knew at that point, it's like, you know what? I don't have to shop around this. This is going to work out just fine.
The case started before COVID, and then COVID hits, and we're still kind of looking for a trial date at that point, but then we have COVID, and the courts shut down completely for about a year. Paul's case just lingered, it just waited there for, over a year. Nothing happened, nothing.
They had one district attorney, then they left and passed it on to somebody else. Javier he had all his ducks in a row. He had all his paperwork. He had everything the way he was supposed to have it done, and they didn't. To me, Javier was the only one who was really looking out for me, because I'm still waking up each day. I'm talking to my friends, and everyone's going, why is this still going on? This is nothing. You weren't impaired. You were under the limit. And I don't know why they're trying to make an example of you.
A criminal accusation, when somebody says you're a criminal, every morning you wake up differently. Every morning, you're like, this still is going on. And people just get tired. I've had clients who just say, you know what, I'm just going to take the plea, I'm done. And you got to understand them. But in Paul's case, he held strong. So finally, the court starts going back. We were still doing just video courts. We were not doing in-presence courts, and there was no way I was going to agree to a Zoom trial. Hell no. I needed to get him in front of a jury, right? And I need a jury to see who Paul is. Juries respond to that, and I knew they were going to respond, and they were going to believe him when he said I wasn't impaired. And also, guess what? They had nothing. Oh, by the way.
Finally go to court, and the state is trying all these pieces of evidence. They're trying to get things in that they didn't before. And each time, Javier, he's standing up, shaking his head. It's like, no, you can't do that.
The major issue they had is they didn't want to tell me what their expert was going to say. The American legal system does not allow litigation by surprise. Their evidence they have to disclose, particularly when it's expert witness evidence, right? And DUIs are like basically the expert evidence determinative, right? I mean, because it's all about the blood and impairedness and stuff. It's all expert witnesses, right? Somebody to explain to the jury what science tells us, right? What science tells us when a person is impaired. I filed a motion for sanctions in the form of preclusion of the evidence that was not disclosed, right? I told the judge they violated the rules. They did not disclose what they were supposed to disclose. So now they can't use it, Your Honor. They wanted to dismiss, to do something and then refile or whatnot. And we objected. I said, no. Let's have the trial or be it done. That's it. And the judge agreed, and the case got dismissed.
I couldn't ask for anything more. For somebody who was scared and didn't know how this was going to work, he pretty much took everything the state had and plucked them away one by one till they had nothing left. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And just the way he handles me as a person, he didn't come up to be one of these a pompous jerk like you see in some of these commercials or anything like that. Very down the earth guy, but he knows what he's talking about. So I would highly recommend Javier.